This is Current Invective. I'm Steve Fournier. I'm in Hartford, Connecticut. It's August 18th, 2021. This is entitled Yo RICO. The war in Afghanistan was a racketeering enterprise from top to bottom. A responsible judge, if there is such a person, would be compelled by the facts of the case to find that people at the highest levels of government, business, and mass media colluded in a criminal enterprise to destroy a distant people for gain. And there was gain. Untold billions changed hands as profiteers contracted for everything from sewage to chow, while top public employees enhanced their material and political prospects. Title 18 of the U.S. Code forbids racketeering in a section known affectionately by the acro-slur RICO, denoting the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. The law creates a civil cause of action, a federal lawsuit, for victims of racketeering. The people of Afghanistan would qualify as plaintiffs, and they should assemble promptly while the evidence is still warm to conduct an investigation into the criminal conduct of their invaders. Their object should be to present their findings in a complaint to a U.S. court. They were subjected by 3 presidents, 10 Congresses, a few hundred billionaires, and every commercial newsmonger in the Western world to nightly terror at the hands of overpaid mercenary soldiers, and they should not hesitate to seek justice. Somebody has a legal claim to the profits, obscene by any measure, realized by private contracting firms custom created for this lucrative venture. Those assets and the personal property of the government officials who facilitated this atrocity need to be subject to confiscation and distribution to Afghans. Even now, relying on the distracted complacency of the public, the U.S. government is aiding and abetting private financiers in the theft of Afghan government assets, an act that fits the definition of piracy. We can only guess where that money will end up, and we'll never know how much has been looted by private parties from sure-to-be-abandoned government property. Our law has a process for holding the culpable parties accountable if anybody has the guts to invoke it. I used to be a modestly resourceful lawyer, but I'm damned if I can see how newsmongers escape liability as racketeers. It's not as if it was a secret that retribution was being inflicted on Afghans for crimes in which no Afghans were involved. Reporters were okay with that. They were on board for the unconstitutional invasion under a recklessly adopted scrap of legislation that was not a declaration of war, but a blank check for profligate destruction. Whether sponsored by Rupert Murdoch or by viewers like you, newsmongers had not a critical word to say. The high-profile media people who promoted the Afghan adventure remain strident and make bigger money than ever. Afghans should keep a detailed record of the somber, almost tearful lamentations of reporters over the failure of the Afghan army to kill and die in the last days of the occupation. Many of us hope that a day will come when the world understands the role of the mass media, including NPR, in promoting bloodshed and destruction. It wasn't just Afghans who were victimized by the corrupt enterprise in West Asia. You suffered too if you had trouble paying your utility bills or your taxes or your insurance premiums, all of which carry hidden surcharges to defray the cost of war contracts. If you depend on government for any sort of social service, you paid in degraded service and reduced benefits. If you had a good feeling about your country and its place in the world, or if you ever wore a military uniform, you suffered grievously as your nation's reputation plummeted before your eyes. The world knows, if we don't, that we tolerated an atrocity that will shock human conscience for 100 years and discredit this generation irredeemably. There's a lawsuit for that. This is Current Invective. I'm Steve Fournier.